Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're diving into what has to be one of the absolute most nerve-wracking, nail-biting matches of the 2026 World Cup so far. We're looking at that wildly high-stakes last 32 clash in Atlanta. You've got a massive tournament favorite in England going up against the ultimate underdogs, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And look, this wasn't just a regular football match. It was this crazy collision of expectations, pure resilience, and sheer willpower. We're going to break down exactly how this thriller unfolded, the key players who totally shaped it, and the fascinating real-world context behind the whole shebang. Okay, let's jump right in, because honestly, everything you thought you knew about this matchup got completely turned upside down in exactly 7 minutes. Yep, the 7th minute. That's when Brian Sipenga sent an absolute shockwave around the world. Chancellor Mbemba puts in this deep cross, finds an unmarked Sipenga, and he just fires it low right past Jordan Pickford. Suddenly, the Leopards have this stunning early lead. It was literally a moment of pure magic for DR Congo, and just like that, the script is completely torn up. England's trailing, and the pressure inside that stadium in Atlanta was, well, you can cut the tension with a knife. And that crazy early goal really forces us to ask a much bigger question here. How did a nation facing extreme turmoil actually manage to push a global footballing giant to the absolute brink? To really wrap our heads around the sheer magnitude of DR Congo's performance out there on the pitch, we kind of need to understand the stark reality of what's happening off the pitch back home. So we're going to shift gears just for a second to look at this real-world context, because it honestly makes what they did athletically just that much more extraordinary. Taking a look at the official UK government travel warnings for the Democratic Republic of the Congo, they outline a very severe geopolitical reality right now. The FCDO notes a high global threat of terrorism, particularly over in the eastern provinces. You have ongoing political unrest with protests that can escalate super quickly and involve military forces. The warnings also detail some really severe risks of violent street crime, organized gangs, and kidnappings in major urban centers like Kinshasa. And on top of all of that, the region is dealing with extreme weather, severe flooding, and even active volcanic eruptions. It's a stark reality, and it's summed up pretty directly in this quote. FCDO advises against all travel to parts of Democratic Republic of the Congo. It's a really profound juxtaposition when you think about it. You've got these players representing a nation that's navigating immense, life-threatening challenges every single day, stepping out onto this glamorous, highly sanitized World Cup stage in Atlanta and going completely toe-to-toe with one of the most well-funded footballing nations on the planet. It just adds an incredible layer of gravity to what we were watching. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. Heading into this knockout game, the group stage possession stats painted this very clear David versus Goliath picture. England had been completely dominating the ball in their earlier matches, right? Averaging a massive 65.3% possession. Meanwhile, DR Congo was sitting way down at 30th in the tournament for possession, averaging just 38.5%. So the narrative was totally set. England would hold the ball and DR Congo would just be trying to survive. But, well, as we quickly found out, having the ball and actually controlling the game are two very different things. The real story is how incredibly well DR Congo utilized their highly limited time on the ball. When we look at the match stats, yeah, sure, England had 16 shots to DR Congo's 7. England had 7 on target compared to the Leopards' 2. But DR Congo made their moments count with this terrifying, lethal efficiency. Pretty much every single time they broke forward, they pushed England's defense to the absolute limit. I mean, Yohan Wissa actually hit the post from point-blank range right before halftime. England's defense looked genuinely panicked out there. Guys like Ezri Konsa were having a remarkably tough afternoon. It just goes to show DR Congo didn't even need possession to induce total panic in the English ranks. Now, what's really interesting here is the story of two completely opposing forces going head-to-head. On one hand, you've got DR Congo's goalkeeper, Lion Mpasi. He put on an absolute clinic, making 5 crucial saves and grabbing an 8 out of 10 rating. He repeatedly denied Jude Bellingham, basically acting like a total brick wall. But then, on the other side, you have the unstoppable force, England's captain, Harry Kane. He pulled a 9 out of 10 rating and played the ultimate heroic rescuer. He finally managed to break through Mpasi's defenses not just once, but twice, to completely turn the tide of the whole match. But hey, Kane definitely wasn't the only standout. We absolutely have to talk about Noah Sadiki. Earning his own solid 8 out of 10 rating, The Guardian literally noted that the Sunderland midfielder was everywhere. He was just an absolute engine right in the center of the park, constantly disrupting England's flow, winning tackles left and right, and driving his entire team forward. His performance was so dominant, honestly, it's really no surprise that top Premier League clubs are reportedly keeping a very, very close eye on him. He was a massive reason why England just couldn't find their rhythm for over an hour. Which brings us to a massive, game-changing turning point, and that is the number 2. Specifically, the 2 crucial assists provided by substitute Anthony Gordon. So he gets brought on in the 61st minute for Marcus Rashford, right? And Gordon's impact was just immediate and devastating. He injected this raw pace and incredible vision into what had been a pretty stagnant England attack. He provided the exact crosses they needed to finally crack that resolute DRC defense. It was one of those performances off the bench that perfectly highlights why a massive club like Barcelona is securing his services for next season. Let's move to and see how this builds, mapping out exactly how late England left a spectacular comeback. We start with that wild 7th-minute shocker from Sapenga. And then, for the next 68 minutes, England fans were basically living a nightmare. It wasn't until the 75th minute that Harry Kane finally nodded home a chipped cross from Gordon to level the score. And then we hit the heart-stopping climax, the 86th minute. Kane just thunders a shot right into the top corner from inside the box. So you're talking about going from absolute despair to pure elation in the span of 11 wild minutes.
And man, that relief wasn't just felt by the fans in the stands, but clearly by the manager too. This really striking quote from The Guardian sums the whole mood up perfectly. England's savior yet again. Where would Thomas Tuchel be without his captain? Probably out of a job. The pressure on Tuchel was just immense. I mean, going out in the last 32 to a team ranked that far below them, that would have been a generational trauma for English football. So Harry Kane didn't just save a match here. He effectively saved his manager's entire tenure with one defining performance.
Because of that crazy escape, Thomas Tuchel's competitive record actually remains completely pristine. Breaking down the numbers here, that's 10 wins, 1 draw, and 0 losses in competitive fixtures. So despite the massive scare that DR Congo gave them, Tuchel is still unbeaten in 11 competitive matches. That is historic territory, guys. He now joins the ranks of only 2 other managers who have had such a long unbeaten start in competitive fixtures for the 3 Lions. That's Ron Greenwood and Roy Hodgson. Like we said, it definitely wasn't pretty, but at the end of the day, the record books only show the results. So what's the grand prize for this great escape? A one-way ticket to Mexico City. England now advances to the round of 16 to face Mexico. But here is the real kicker for all the fans back home in the UK. The match kicks off on Monday, July 6th at a totally brutal 1 a.m. British summer time. Yeah, 1 a.m. As Tuchel himself jokingly said, they're going to have to let the children watch. It is going to be a late, grueling night for the supporters, but look, after somehow surviving the last 32, they will gladly take it. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question to chew on. England survived the Leopards, yes, but are they truly ready for Mexico? I mean, they showed some incredible resilience, sure, but they also showed some glaring vulnerabilities at the back and some real sluggishness in possession. If DR Congo could push them to the absolute brink, what is a highly passionate Mexican side going to do playing on their home continent? It is a fascinating setup for the next round. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep your eyes on the pitch because this World Cup is really just getting started.